Hello, welcome to Actual Play, Nara and the Burning Wheel. We are back for some more neophyte sorcery, some more young wizardry. Jed and I were just talking about fantasy stories over the holidays, and just watched Lord of the Rings, and how holidays feel like a nice time to have play magical characters. Um, I've also been reading Sabriel, which is about this
Oh,
young woman who is learning sorcery. So I've got all sorts of fun young sorcerer vibes going on right now. I'm Sean. I use he him pronouns. You can find me over at Sean Nittner, and unsurprisingly, I am playing Nara. All funds on this channel are go to Black Lives Matter and Gen Z Defense Fund. So if you give us money, it'll go there, and that's great. How about you, Jen?
hey, I'm Judd, he, him, and fun note about Sabriel, which is an amazing book. I actually need to go back and reread it and then just read the whole series because I remember the bells and I remember the river, and the magic, the amazing magic system, but I don't remember much else. I need to go back and reread it. The audiobook is read by Tim Curry. So if you want to go back and just like I love listening to
Yeah.
books that I've read already. And when I saw it was Tim Curry, I just threw it. I bought it with haste. So
Yeah, that's how I'm absorbing it. I'm listening to it, and his voice is great. Yeah,
yeah,
it's this gravelly but like not Batman kind of
yeah,
voice. It's really it's great. And his
cool.
characterization of the characters, like when there's dialogue, is also really strong. Like you can um, and there haven't been too many speaking roles yet early in the book, but the ones that have been there, yeah, have been very distinct. So yeah, it's a
Cool,
good lesson. Um,
cool. Yeah. Yeah, and it's nice to play a morning game. I feel like it gives the game a different feel. There's something very cozy about having your coffee and your brunch and then getting some gaming in. It's nice.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I almost wish I did that more. I think it's uh, I don't know. I just think it's a really nice thing. It's fun. So yeah, thanks for scheduling it in, and I am excited.
Me
Um,
too.
so recap. I was actually listening to the game, and a kind of shocking amount of stuff happened. Um, I feel like Nara was at the Jeweled Road Inn, which is a cool place to start because it is one of the places that her mother went to when she was on her journey, her
Yep.
now famous journey,
Yeah.
and uh, she kind of got overwhelmed with all the wizards around at like her destiny, and is she ready to do it? And she hasn't really been trained to do it.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
distinct impression that I got was that like Nara's like, cool, I'm gonna be the next Archmage. And then she goes and she's like, what? I needed to have done 3 chores. I needed to have done these things. And
yeah,
interestingly enough, we kind of realized Nara doesn't know how to read. Jed and I talked about this off screen, and we realized that she learned art magic through practice and through curriculum and so there's a lot of rich nobles who sort of learn to read as kids and they take that for granted. Uh, Nara didn't. She was village born. She certainly wasn't taught by her family and didn't need it for learning art magic. But now she has a big old book of Ignas. She has a tome from the Archmage that she's gonna have to figure out someone to help her how to read it, or read it to her, or like teach her how to read via. Yep, yeah. So that's yeah. Nara was overwhelmed is exactly the right word.
yeah, and I feel like a bunch of stuff happened. She sang for money. She snuck up on a wizard who wants to become the archmage named Kaji. She slapped an apprentice for being racist. Uh, she uh,
Yeah.
she cut a deal with the Tourmaline Wanderer, who is a spirit who guards the road, and was turned into a lioness, and turned herself into a lioness. Basically, she cut a deal with the Tourmaline spirit, right, to get that book that she now has,
Mm-hmm.
and the tourmaline spirit took possession of her as agreed. And mind you, that was definitely like a check-in with Sean moment, because possession can be a fuddly thing, and you want to be careful.
Yeah.
But I love how we get these spammers we constantly get our spammers in our chat. They're just like, don't you want to be famous? And we're like, but there are 8 people here. We are famous. What are you talking about? That's 2 more than 6. That's almost 10. We're almost into double digits here. You crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So yeah, she cut a deal with the tourmaline spirit, and the tourmaline spirit used her own magic to turn herself into a lioness, and she has like a dreamy memory of killing a bunch of bandits with her claws and jaws. And Bizor, her teacher, made her bury the heads. And then the last thing that happened, I feel like that's where a normal game would have ended. But we kind of had one more little chapter where Bizor took her to a monastery where there was this injured, kind of, recovering from burns, from a lifetime of dealing with burns, 10 years now. And it was a young wizard who had attempted to become the Archmage and nearly burned to death.
Yeah, it was Enter.
Yeah.
And the neat thing is, I just changed my mic because Andy said that I was sounding far away. Does this sound any better?
Yeah, you're definitely much closer and louder. You could even, I think, maybe turn it down a little bit.
Okay, I can do that. She met Enter, who interestingly was burned by the wheel horribly, and but still isn't 100% sure that he did the wrong. Like, he's still like, if I could go back and try it again, I don't know that I wouldn't do it, right? Like, he's so like, he's not like, oh, I made this horrible mistake. He's like, I probably made a mistake because obviously I couldn't hold the wheel, but like, also it's just this very strong compulsion to try and do this. Yeah.
So that I've got to give props. That thing with Enter where he's like dealing, he's clearly like has been hurt and did not do well the first time he did it, is inspired by an interaction with my father, in which for his 70th birthday, I think 70th birthday, yes, I found these pictures. My dad used to race Corvettes. And so I found a picture from like 1968, not 8, of him racing in this hill climb in Pennsylvania. And I framed a couple of the pretty pictures, but the not so pretty pictures were when he took a turn too hard and a tree cut the Corvette in half and he walked away from it. He got lucky. It didn't hit his gas tank. It didn't hit him. So we're looking at these pictures that he hasn't seen in decades of a Corvette that he was driving cut in 2. And he's like, yeah, they told me not to take that turn in 3rd gear, but I really thought I could make it. And he kind of thought about it for a second and said, I still think I could make it. And I'm like, no, you could not. You categorically could not make it. Like, why do you think this is a good idea? So anyway, Enter, inspired by my father, Crash and Burn Carlman was his nickname, one of his many nicknames. And
that's so good.
I love that my dad was like, I could still do it. That turn on that hill in Ellenville, Pennsylvania, I'm sure I could still do it in 3rd gear.
I feel your dad a lot. In so much as there's been many times where I failed at things and thought, oh, I bet if I just did that differently, it would have been better. And yet the cost of failure was very high. And was like, you should just go, phew, I got through it. It's behind me. It's in my rearview mirror now. I never have to do that again. I have already failed at it. It's over. But I've been like, maybe I could try again.
Maybe let's, maybe don't pick up the fiery artifact. Maybe take the turn in second gear. Like all of your racing friends who are kind of more technical drivers than you suggest. Anyway,
Wow.
that's my delightful father.
Nice.
And anyway, and so yes, Anter talked to you about that, and I think again, like the stress kind of mounted up on Nara, and she literally flew away, right?
Yeah, she literally just turned into a sparrow and was like, I can't. She couldn't face Bazar at the moment. She didn't want to talk to. She couldn't talk to Antair anymore. She didn't know how to talk. She was thinking about going to talk to Brother Martin, who was like the one that sort of takes care of Antair, but like
Yeah.
it was just. I don't know what to do. I feel like every a choice I've made has been wrong, and I feel like there's no right choices. I'm getting out of here. And so she did what any young sorcerer who has the ability, or any person who has the ability to do. She turned into a board and birds away. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm out. There were a few other little things. I think you caught a lot of it, but she also met Felix the minstrel, who helped her
Yes.
sing the Soldier's Lament, and he then told her about all of the archmages that he knew about, Enoch,
Yeah.
Astafa, and Igna. Notably
Yeah.
not the second archmage. There's a hole in knowledge there, or in his knowledge there.
Yeah.
And also she met Rasmus, who was back from the first series, the wizard who Bina met, and who kind of identified Nara as an archmage or a potential archmage. And Rasmus invited them to his pit to stay with him in Shadowhold. And also of note, she learned that Igna did a few things. One of them was use the wheel to bind the Trilliman Wanderer, the spirit, to protect the Jeweled Road. And the other one was that at the end of his life, he bound his spirit to Shadowhold. So presumably, Igna is in some form or another, in some
Yeah.
ghostly form, in Shadowhold. So
Yep.
yeah, very, very, very cool. Lots of good stuff. I thought about.
And you probably took a summoning practice test for helping Bizor, right? I would think.
Yeah, I think I did.
Good.
Did I mark that? I think I was helping with a different skill, and so I marked that, but I could have done that
Okay.
wrong. When you're helping somebody, do you test the skill?
Oh,
We're doing this
interesting.
right from the beginning, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, maybe not then. Yeah, that's
let's
interesting.
see. Helping dice.
No, I think you're right. I think you have to have some form of the skill. I don't think you can learn the skill new from helping. I think you can increase it through helping. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
That makes sense.
and you do. It does count as a test, but it counts as a test for the skill that you're helping with.
Okay.
As long
Sounds
as
good.
the helping skill is applicable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought about Nara's. I kind of went back and forth with Nara's beliefs a lot because my first instinct was like, Nara should try and be a better student to Bezor. He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
He's really trying his best to help her. And then I looked at my beliefs and I was like, Nara feels this incredible amount of pressure, and she is young and not really mature enough at this point to just sort of make that leap from I should stop doing silly things like talking to spirits and without knowledge of how to do so.
Yeah.
And so I wanted her to do something to try and regain Bezor's, or not regain, but try and show Bezor that she was taking responsibility for her actions, both in the terms of the very small infraction of like slapping the apprentice, whose name I didn't write down, so I don't know if you have Kaji's apprentice's name.
We might not have gotten it. I'll look it up.
We might not have said it. I'm not sure.
It's Yisa.
Yisa. Okay. So that was like a really small kind of mistake. I mean, you shouldn't slap a would-be archmage's apprentice, but
Right.
also like compared to accepting a deal with a spirit that then it possessed you and you transformed yourself into a lion and killed 14 bandits. It's a much bigger one, and so she's uh, yeah, no, you're right, Matt. Slap them and can't remember their name. It's true. I mean, I didn't really care about Yisa as much as I cared about what she was saying. Um, anyway, so instead of asking Bezor, what can I do to regain your confidence, to show you that I'm responsible for actions, she's going to try and do it. We'll see how that works. We'll see how if what she's doing makes any sense at all. And I think that makes actually a lot of sense for Nara. She's not going to ask someone how to find a way out down this path. She's gonna try it on her own. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I'm excited to, if it's okay with you, I'm excited to pick back up right,
Cool.
in meteor, like right where we were, and be flying over the temple, the little roads.
Love it.
Yeah.
Go on. I'm sorry.
No. I think Nara's gonna fly high. She's gonna feel the wind through her wings. She's going to take in the sights. She's going to have this sort of moment of wonderment of being able to fly, because that's amazing and wonderful and magical in and of itself. And then I think she's going to circle a few times and start looking for a sign of wherever the bandits were encamped, wherever they, last night she killed some bandits on the road, and there's presumably follow-ons, either more bandits or just the people that kind of kept the camp. Wherever they were, she wants to see if there's any of their kin that still remain.
Cool. Love it. Let me do this thing that only vaguely has to do with what we're doing. And then let's do this. Yeah, I think you do see it. I think you can see the smoke fires from where you are, so you're so high up.
Yeah.
And you see a village built around, built on the top of a hill, around some standing stones. And I think you get a little bit of like a second, you get a bit of a magic push from the standing stones too, but I think it's the only village around. If the bandits came from somewhere, it's probably there. And maybe even something about the smell of the place brings back a memory from your dream.
Nice.
Like the type of wood that they burn reminds you of something from the dream when you were a tigress, or when you were a lioness, and mauling a bunch of villagers. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of the smell being in her fur. I like the way you pick up smoke smell in your clothes, right?
Yeah.
That carried that away with her. Yeah, so I think I want to land among them.
Cool.
And maybe listen for a bit and try and find someone who, because obviously not, since it's a village rather than just like a small encampment, presumably not every single person in this village is part of these sort of bandit groups. So I think she's going to try and perch by one of those fires and look for someone who would be, affiliated, related, who would look similar, smell similar, be brandishing weapons, whatever we'd be identifying would help identify them.
I think you see
Sorry, I'm making you make up stuff
No,
right off
no,
the
no,
spot.
no, no, no. It's not at all. I think you see the village kind of gathering to um they're creating a pyre to a funeral pyre to burn some of the dead.
Yeah, because they have their
um,
bodies, presumably.
right,
I took their
right,
heads.
right.
Cool. That's wonderful. That is exactly what I um, that is exactly what I perfect timing. Um, I'm going to land in some unseen place, in some nook, um, and transform back to my human form.
Cool.
We have not discussed, and I'm totally happy to learn this now. I'm happy with either answer, but we have not discussed whether or not Nara's what she's carrying and wearing transforms with her, or whether when she turns back she's naked. When she like we haven't discussed the nature of the
Yeah.
transformation magic.
What do you
It's
think?
not specific.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's really up to us to kind of figure out that color, and I
yeah,
think it's important. I think color is important, but yeah, I think it's kind of in our court. What do you think? Like, I guess how I hate to use the word gritty because it has such a specific people
yeah.
people use it to mean all kinds of shitty things in fantasy fiction, but um, what are you interested in? I guess.
I think I think um, I think what would be cool is if I feel like I'm always doing this to myself. I'm like, I think it'd be cool if it's possible, but only if you do this X, Y, and Z. I don't know why.
Okay.
It's like, so I think it would be cool if a wizard could bind things to them that would then transform with them, but
Yeah.
otherwise they would not carry. So by default, I think Nara is naked right now. I
Got
think
it.
if she has enchanted an object in some way so as to transform with her, then it would become like a little artifact that would be maybe visible, maybe not. Um, a cloak might become a collar or a specially colored feather or something like that. But I think again, I feel like the fitting with the setting that we've described. I think when you transform, you're just transforming yourself. And Nara left behind a pile of clothes and possessions when she flew away. Um, yeah, I think so. I think does that sound
Yeah,
cool to
yeah, yeah,
you?
yeah. I think so. You kind of like land at the edge of the village and kind of walk in naked. Like, is that the
Well, I'm gonna cast a spell before I walk in, so that
okay?
I'm sort of in I'm sort of occluded. My vision is sort of occluded, but yeah. So I when I land, I would like to and I sort of take form, and I kind of like bend my fingers that I because they have joints again,
Yeah,
and feel the muddy ground beneath my bare feet. Call back, and and like breathe
oh,
in the
nice.
smoky air,
Yeah,
and like smell it again. And then I want to try and pull the smoke from the beginning of the pyre around me and to surround myself in shadows and smoke, and like
kind of an
wisps
illusion.
of flame. Yeah.
Yeah,
I want something that will be scary, um, uh, but uh, but also cover me up and 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 sort of keep me decent. So I named this spell in advance, um,
love it.
thinking about this, the Shadows of the Starless Night.
Yeah,
Um, and I think I'm not sure if I do like I do like pulling smoke into it though. If that's cool with you,
yeah,
but this and I want to gain an advantage on intimidation.
yeah. Oh,
And
totally.
that's my intent, is to sort of pull this smoke and weave it into shadow,
Yep.
and then present myself in front of these people.
Cool. Let's cast that spell.
Yeah.
Let's do it. What is it? And also, like, what does it look like? What is it? What does the casting look like? Does smoke like come out of the chimneys and like move towards you?
I think if they're building, I like the idea that it's coming from the pyre. So I think if they're starting the pyre and there's a little bit of smoke coming from it, that we see the smoke kind of sort of unnaturally move along the ground like a really low fog would, and it kind of pulls from the fire and starts wrapping around her, and then we see it.
Cool.
We see the flame in it. We see we see little bits of ash and whatnot in it darken and continue to like form these smoky shadows around her. I like the idea that she's wrapped in shadow, but it's like it's like a shadow that can kind of blow away and then reappear in different ways. It sort of has the consistency of smoke. Yeah, and of course, there are some somatic and verbal components to it. I think the somatic component is it's like she's inhaling it. She's like breathing it in, and it's pulling towards her. All right, so I'm going to go for plus 2d, which I think is ob3.
Cool.
I am going to
How long do you want it to last?
I just want it to last one test.
Okay.
And it's just going to affect me.
Great.
I would like to fork in aura reading in this case. I think it's appropriate because I'm going to be looking at the various people, and I want images that would be fearful to them.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
I think things that would give them pause, pulling from their childhood stories. They're not that far from where I grew up. Pulling from the things that they know that are scary stories of wizards, honestly. And yeah, I think that's it. It's not sky, it's not dark, it's daytime, so I don't feel like astrology makes sense, and I don't think I have any other forks for sorcery. Fire building, no, I will not. Oh, computer, stop being so slow. Yes. Name the spell. That's right, Matt. I name my spells. I care. I'm concerned with that maybe more so than with names of racist apprentices. So I'm taking 2 bonus dice, 1 for working in aura reading, and 1 for naming the spell. Does that sound good?
Okay, sounds great.
3. I failed. But
nice.
It's sorcery's open-ended, so I can spend a fate to reroll a failure, and that might do it. So I'm gonna try that.
Do it to it.
Got it.
Nice.
Sorry, I know you're like waiting for the time when the sorcery goes awry.
No. I am not worried. And it's like I feel like it's a cool thing either way. Yeah. So do you want to roll intimidation and see how much you intimidate the villagers?
Yeah, I wanted to go and say a few things.
Cool. Yeah, I think you walk up to them and they're building the pyre, and some folks are crying and folks are kind of standing around and saying prayers and saying remembrances, and you walk out of the wood line and I think you hear people gasp. Here's the twist I'm throwing at you, Sean. Let me know if it's cool.
Yeah.
The woman, there's an elder woman who is clearly like in charge, and she's like getting the pyre built right and making sure the bodies don't attract flies. And I think she looks like, for a second, I think Nara does a double take because this woman looks so much like her mother.
Oh wow.
And
Nice.
and how do you feel about this being the village where Bina came from?
Oh yeah, Bulnar, I think was the name of it.
Was it Bulnar?
Let's see. I have to pull out my Bina notes.
Let's just say it's Bulnar, and we'll figure it out later. Let's not look it
Yeah.
up right now.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love the idea that this is where Bina came from. That makes total sense.
Cool. And yeah, I think she steps forward and says, the Tourmaline Wanderer already took our people's heads for their sins. Do the spirits of death want more? And like, you realize that they think you're a spirit. Like, they don't think you're human.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, you walk out of the woods clothed in you know, smoke and shadow. You can understand why.
Yeah, totally. And Nara says, Tourmaline Wanderer was not alone. I was the one who killed your kin. I've buried their heads on the side of the road. There are 14 stones to commemorate each of them, if you wish to recover them or pay them homage. And like, there's a part of her like winces of like, oh, that really hurt my back to dig that grave.
Right.
But but you know, she holds that in and she says, I have an offer for you as well. I have an offer for you, and I have an offer, a warning, and an inquiry for you.
Yeah, the woman kind of shakes her head like and is confused and says, you have a warning and an inquiry
and an offer.
Say what you must, spirit, and then be gone. We are here to pay respects to the dead, so that their souls might rise to the burning wheel and then rise to the Lord of Fire.
Igna the Archmage. My warning. Igna the Archmage bound the Tourmaline Wanderer to protect this road, and your people have defied that protection time and time again. They died because they did not respect that spell, that protection, that sanctity. Though Igna has been long dead, and perhaps his magic is fading, a new Archmage will be named soon, and that power will be restored. I warn you that if you do not find another way of life, more will end up. The Tourmaline Wanderer will claim more of your villagers. My offer is that should you look for a new way of life, I will help you get started. And this is where Nara not be able to carry stuff with her is biting the ass. She's like, damn it, I've got a big old pile of coin. And she says, meet me in Shadowhold. Tell me of your plan for a new life that does not include banditry, and I will help get you started. I will put coin in your pockets to give you to give you a fresh start. And however long it's going to take for them to get to Shadowhold, she tells them.
Yeah.
Meet me, you know, and she'll probably be there for a while, so it's not like meet me this exact day. Meet me
in
Shadowhold.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Is there a role you want to make? Is there an effect you want to have here?
Yeah, I want to convince them to give up a life of banditry.
Right.
I mean, that's it. Like I want them to stop doing this, and I'm basically offering them. I'm going to give them all my coin. I'm going to give them 40 of cash dice. I think I don't know how to quantify that, but like I will say
Yeah.
it's a large amount. Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
large amount. And yeah, I want them to. And then my warning is that if you don't do it, the Archmage's magic is gonna punish you more. My offer is like I will help you get started on a new life to do something else. And my inquiry is I want to know the names of the people I killed.
Nice.
The names of the 14. And you don't need to come up with 14 names if you
Yeah.
want to, but
She says, if I tell you the names, will you be dispelled and leave us? You'll be banished.
I'm not banished so easily, but you tell me the names and make me that promise. I will harrow you no more.
I am Leodun, and I will go to Shadowhold and hear your offer in the Wizard City, in the shadow of the wheel. And these are the names of the men and women you killed. And yeah, she lists their names and probably like says a little bit about each of them, right?
Yeah. If she can learn about their family, about their deeds, etc.
Yeah. So and so, laughed like a goat, and this person was the best thatcher in the village, and this other person, had a terrible limp, but when went bent, took to the road anyway, and yeah, and then they kind of watch you leave. I think like people were starting to like pick up spears and bows, and
yeah.
I think as you go into the woods, you hear Leodune tell them not to follow you.
Yeah. Does it make sense to make an intimidation roll to see if I've like left a lasting impact on them, or do you feel like
totally? Yeah. I think you totally should. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the minimum ob is 3 to like sway some people, and then like the higher it goes, the more of an impact you have. If you don't, I'm going to say if you don't, then they don't listen to Leodune, and they start to run after you. Like a few people are going to run after you.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the consequence.
That makes total sense.
You're going to get hunted.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna roll intimidation.
Yeah.
I'm taking 2 advantage dice for my spell. I would like to fork in both obscure history of knowing about Igna and the binding and tourmaline and that stuff. And I'd also like to fork in ugly truth of like, you do this and you're gonna die. Like I'm telling you right now, like this is bad news for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really it. Bloodletting apocalypse one. No. All right, here we go.
Sounds good.
So
let's see how it goes.
4 dice. You know what? I do care about this. I'm gonna spend Artha on this. I have 3 persona, so I'm gonna spend 2. I'm gonna spend one of those.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, 4.
And and you got the bonus dice from the spell?
I got the bonus dice from the spell, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, just did it.
Oh.
There we go. Well, it looks like I got some of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's enough. Like, so you didn't scare all of them, but you scared enough that when people go to gather bandits, they won't be able to gather enough people, frankly. Like they won't be able to get enough people together. Someone will try, but they just won't be able to do it. Is what I'm going to say. Is what Ob 3 means. And the other thing is that, they want to get a hunting party together to hunt you down for killing their friends and taking their heads, and they can't do it. They like not enough people will
Yeah, like
together.
some are ready to come, but it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
And
Sounds good.
then I feel like, I don't know how far this was on foot, but Nara's like, crap, gotta get home. I'm naked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it a reasonable distance to travel back on foot? Do we just sort of align back to her returning on foot, or is this like a trek for to get
No, I mean,
there?
I don't think you flew that far, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think these people are pretty close to the road. Uh, so they were like between the monastery and the road because you kind of like went north and then went west. So yeah, I think it takes you half a day,
Yeah.
and uh, it's a nice time of year. Being exposed to the elements is not unpleasant. Um, and yeah, I think you get back to the monastery naked,
Yep.
uh, and some nuns, some
I think
silent
there's like
nun.
reaching out, like peering around from a hedge, like, psst, hey, could you throw me
Yeah,
something to wear, right?
and like yeah, some nuns come and like bring you some of your clothes to so you can wear them. I don't think they're very prudish. I just don't think that's part of their religion.
Yeah.
But they definitely are puzzled. Is like what had happened. You can just tell from their faces, but they've taken a vow of silence here. It's supposed to help with the healing, and yeah, so you just get like puzzled glances to one another, but no real judgment and no real questions. Um, and I think like as you walk in through the garden, uh, Bezor is sitting and smoking his pipe, and Fennec is like going from tree to tree, uh, eating beetles, crunchily and loudly. And
Nice.
he says, "You okay?"
She sort of breathes in, and you know how you get things stuck in your, how you get like smells stuck in your nose
Yeah,
when you go a place. She like breathes in. I think she gets like the smell of the fire, the pyre, like when she takes a breath in, because like the smoke got in her nose,
yeah.
and she says, I think so. Yeah, I wasn't quite ready to meet Anter. I don't know how I could have been ready, but it made me think.
I
And
didn't want to
I
prepare
needed to get some
you.
time.
I didn't want to prepare you for meeting on Terre. I wanted to prepare you to be in the presence of the burning wheel. I feel like that is the more important preparation.
If your
We have
goal is to make me scared of its fire, you certainly succeeded.
no, I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be cautious. So if caution
Uh,
is something that's going to happen, then great.
that that lout, that noble Kaji is going to follow on Terra's path. I just know it. I've seen his aura. He's not ready. I'm not ready for sure, but he's also not ready. And if he goes and he presents his three chores, and if he tries to take the wheel, he's going to suffer Antare's fate or worse. And I don't like him at all. And I think he's a jerk, but I also don't think anyone should be burnt like that. So this will probably disappoint everybody but you, but I'm not planning on trying to take that wheel. Not right now. And I'm also going to try and convince Kaji to not do it either, although I'll probably fail. He seems pretty convinced of himself. Also, I slapped his apprentice, and he doesn't like me because of that. But his apprentice was a jerk too.
Are you ready to head up to Shadowhold? It's only a few days from here.
Yes, and she sort of goes and collects the rest of her things and is like very studious about making sure she has her sack of coin, and tucks that in and looks at the book, this leather-bound tome, Ignis book, and stows that away, and puts her warm, soft elven cloak over her shoulders, and we have the like suiting up montage, and she's ready to
Cool.
head out.
Cool.
And she's sort of humming as she's going. She's like making up a song as she's like, but she's not singing it. She's just, she's just sort of like practicing some notes under
Cool.
her breath.
Cool. Is that something we want to think about as being an instinct for later? Always be practicing my singing when I'm on the road.
When I'm on the road, yeah, that could be a good instinct.
Something to think about for later.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Love it. So I think it's a couple days. I think you and Bezor are kind of quiet and maybe even sullen.
Mm-hmm.
And Wheelholt grows larger and larger on the horizon, and atop of it, you can see what looks like a bonfire, and you know that it's the burning wheel that is atop Wheelholt.
Yeah.
And I think also as you get closer, you can tell that things that just look like shadows in the mountain are architecture, and that this mountain has been carved very carefully over the centuries to be, a fortress city. And in front of Wheelholt is this little hill that we scanned right past in the first two campaigns and didn't really look at. But it is like a hill that's kind of hollowed out as if like a meteor hit it and like left a bowl in the hill. And yeah, I think in that bowl and kind of around the rim is a weird city, called Shadowhold. And as you get closer and closer and kind of get back onto the jeweled road, the traffic, you get more and more traffic as folks, pilgrims are going to Shadowhold.
Shadowhold is like a pop-up city, right? Like it appears when the Archmage is going to announce, and
totally. Pop-up city is a great word for it. Yeah, it is kept in, it is kept up by the dwarves, and then it becomes a place to be when there are a number of years where the Archmage is chosen very often. So it can take a while. It can take up to a decade. And I think the first thing Bezor says to you in a couple of days is he comes up to you, and he doesn't want other pilgrims to be able to hear. So he kind of says it quietly. And, he's got his backpack on, and there's this metal bar hanging over back so that his flying fox familiar, Fennec, can dangle from it. And he says, Rasmus offered a place to stay in his tower. I did not commit, but wanted to check in with you. I don't want you to feel the pressure that his prophecies put on you, but I have known him for years. I knew him when I was a apprentice, and he was a newly bearded wizard. fresh to his staff. Do you want to stay there? Will that make you uncomfortable? If not, we can find other arrangements.
He was a friend of my mother's. He seems to wish us both goodwill. He has expectations of me that I may not be able to fulfill, but I never got the impression. I liked him when I was a child, and I haven't met him. Except for our chance encounter in the inn. I haven't really spent any time with him. I think it would be nice to see him again, and we could certainly do worse than staying in his hold. It looks like this place is going to be just as filled up as the jeweled road inn was. So yes, I'm all for it. Let's stay with Rasmus. If we have to,
Very well.
we'll take our leave. But I have a good feeling about it.
Very well. And I think there's a long line at the gate. People are saying what they're here for. Pilgrims are given a badges, and so that and told like you can stay for this long, and they're kind of like given a different spiel than you're going to get. You can stay for this long, and if you're
like
selling
a temporary visa, it's like
and yeah, basically, and they're explained how mercantilism works here, and what the taxes are you have to pay to the dwarves and all that for selling things here. And then when you come up, they say, what is your business here? And Bazor says, I am a wizard. Bazor, this is my apprentice, Nara Songender, and we are guests of the wizard Rasmus. And I think they look up at you and nod and say, Rasmus said that you might be coming. His tower is one of the rim towers, and they describe it to you. And yeah, I think it's this kind of bustling, weird city. It's probably the first city that yeah.
Yeah, I think so. One thing before we leave is Nara will go up to the guard and like sort of like get close to him so he can hear her above all the sort of din, and say, there's a woman, a pilgrim named Leodun, who will come and seek me. If you would send her to Rasmus's keep when she comes to the gate, I would be in your debt.
Yes, apprentice, we will do that. And you can tell that like being a wizard's apprentice accords you more honor, right? Like it's like if you were some turnip farmer and they were like, hey, my friend is going to come up to the gate, could you send them to where I'm staying? They'd be like, okay, turnip farmer, like pay your taxes on time and shut the F up. But like you're a wizard's apprentice, and I think the dwarf at the gate, it's also probably the first dwarf you've seen, right? It's they're these very broad bearded folk, and I think the dwarf like taps you on the shoulder and winks, says not a problem, and I think you realize that it's a woman, and that her she's got this big beautiful beard, and you're probably not as used to it as folk are here. Like,
no,
I think,
right. I probably I've heard of the legendary Kripika, and I've maybe seen some dwarves on the road, but not many. So yeah, I agree. I think this is definitely the first city. I think the elves there were a lot of elves, but they were fairly disparate, and they traveled, and they held up in small they roamed a lot. I think that they moved a lot, and so they had small encampments that were maybe permanent, but that people kind of filtered in and out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no like grand city of elves that I ever went to. So yeah, this is the first
Cool.
city.
Love it. Yeah, and I think it has a weird vibe to it, right? It's very young. I think people are just setting up their stalls and getting the food ready and uh uh well, like fountains are gurgling with new water. I think many of the fountains are there. I think there are a lot of fountains, and they all, because the people will be like sleeping in these plazas, and all the plazas, like all of them have statues representing great archmages, things that they did, um, whether it's their chores or spells they cast with the wheel. And yeah, I think the the fountain outside of Rasmus's tower is Astafa, and uh, hold on, I think it is her, and she's holding the wheel, and you see like kind of how big it is, like it's up against her shoulder and like on her hip, and
Is
and
it
she's
like harp
holding it.
size?
What's
Like
that?
bigger than she is? Is it like harp size? Like bigger than she is almost? Like
I would say it's not bigger than a person, but it's big, right? Like it probably goes like up to her head and like
yeah.
from her hip, right? So that, and it's just like this solid chunk of wood and and metal. And I think the other thing that the carver gets is how strong she is to carry this damn thing. Like that you can see like corded muscles, up her shoulder, up her neck. That it's a strain to carry.
Mm.
And 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 she is resting it on her hip, and the other thing that the artist did that shows how much detail is yeah, 3 feet in diameter, I would say. That's about right. And like Astafa is casting a spell, and you can tell that it's a fire spell from her hand gesture. And the uh the spell is the raising of Ranwita. And yeah, she's casting something.
I think that I assume that that Nara doesn't know what that spell does. That's the name of it, but I'm not.
It's not, no, so that's not the name of the spell. That's like the name of the fountain.
The raising of
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think like that's inscribed along the base. And you probably know that because Bazor reads it out loud.
Yeah.
The raising of Ranwita. Legendary. It is said her fires melted stone and prevented a war among the dukes. And the other thing, the other thing is that I think Astafa is in this carving is a black woman, about a little bit older than Nara.
Okay, so young.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Nara's been kind of walking around, like sort of having a hard time paying attention to exactly where she's going because she's sort of taking in all the sights and like looking at things and there's been moments where like Bezor has been moving along and she's like stopped at a stall because she's, you know, looking at what somebody's setting up. And I think that there's like this very like curious surprise and also like, oh crap, sorry I got in the way, like not knowing how to navigate around. I feel like there's this like mix of wonderment but also awkwardness of, you know, if you don't kind of know what you're doing in a big city, it's easy to kind of get like overwhelmed by the rush of it.
Yeah.
And I think that it sort of culminates in this moment where he is reading this and talking about it, and she hears it, but she's not really taking it in because she's taken her wheel from her with the tattered ribbons
Yeah.
still hanging from it. That she's taken a wheel that her dad made. And you know that thing where you like hold something up, like in this, she's like got one eye closed and she's like rotating the wheel so it like lines up with the burning wheel that Ostapa's carrying, like for no particular reason, but it's almost like she's looking at the thing through the wheel or through like a telescope or something like that, and just, you know, kind of eyeing it to see how well the spokes match and all that.
Yep.
And then she sort of snaps out of it when he says, you know, prevented a war among the dukes. It's just, are we just constantly at war? Never. So many wars.
Bezor.
How did she?
Yeah, I think Bezor stops and realizes that you're having kind of a moment, and he sits on the edge of the fountain and like splashes some water on his face, and it says, "Woof, that's fresh and cold. That's good." And he said, "You should take some. They just got the aqueducts running in the last couple of weeks, from what I've heard from the pilgrims. This water is fresh from the deeps of the earth.
Wow.
Piped up from an underground river.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is just like cold, crisp mountain spring water. I think it's.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And he says, you were asking some questions about Ostafa.
She seems young. How old was she when she became the Archmage?
Huh. Probably this happened early in her tenure. She was probably quite a few years older than you.
Are all Archmages so young? I always thought wizards were old fuddy-duddies. Nothing personal. Just what I was raised thinking.
No, they're not all young. They're not all old fuddy-duddies either. As you said. You had a question about war?
Rasmus must be pretty... it was a question, but I don't think you have an answer. It just seems like every Archmage, or every time I've heard a story of somebody, and my stories may be a little bit biased, it's either about winning some great war, stopping some great war, turning the tide of some great war, and it feels like that's the way we count our calendars is by Archmages and by wars. It's like these aqueducts are amazing. This cold water is a miracle, is its own miracle in and of itself. But I don't hear stories of that's when we made the first aqueducts, or the dwarves made the first aqueducts, or that's when the first spell to transform into a, I don't know, bird or a lioness was found. I'm sure they're recorded, and I'm sure they know, but it just seems like we always count things by tragedies.
I think that's fair. Probably true. Wars affect everyone. And so I think they're a good way to measure. They can be an adequate way to measure time. Aqueducts their water doesn't reach many places. But could be time to change things like that.
It occurs to me that I think Bezor knew when I woke. Like Bezor saw the tome of Igna. I think. I don't think Nara had that. That wasn't hidden.
Yeah.
So she says, it occurs to me that if I'm to learn more about what the Archmages have done, then I should probably be able to do more than point at that chicken scratch and say, that looks like writing. Do you think Lizard Rasmus or someone in his staff would teach me how to read? I feel embarrassed not knowing, but
I'll begin. Sure. We'll begin your studies, and I will discreetly find you another tutor. That is my Shadowhold gift to you.
Thank you. I just don't want to look like a fool in front of the other wizards.
Understood. Are you ready to step into the tower?
She sort of looks around and says, do you think that they have taverns here like the Jewel wrote in?
Absolutely, they do. You want to run around a bit?
What time of day is it?
I would say you got in like late afternoon. Like the sun is still up, but it's starting to cast long shadows in this bowl of a city.
Nice.
And
she says, no, let's go meet our host and settle our things down. But maybe tonight we could go out and take in a bit more of the city. I've been practicing a song you might like.
Nice. I heard you humming to yourself. And I think, you walk across the plaza and there's, the door to this tower. And Rasmus, takes out his walking staff and raps on it. And Bezor, that's what I meant. Bezor knocks on the door that is Rasmus's. And I think one of Rasmus's servants opens the door. He's a young man, clean shaven, and just kind of starting to go bald. And he smiles and says, Master Bezor and an apprentice Nara, yes? Rasmus said you might be coming. Come in.
Nara's still a little weirded out by people knowing who she is, but
yeah.
But yeah,
I'm Matthias. It's nice to meet you. Master Bezor, you will be, he kind of like, you're going to be in this room, it's kind of like and you are like in a room kind of across the hall from him.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthias, I think, says to you as he shows you to this room. It's not huge, but it's got a nice view of the city, I think. And
are we on the edge of the hill? Like higher
up?
Nice.
Yeah. And so, and Matthias says, you got some deliveries from messengers. They are on your reading lectern. And I think in the room is like a reading lectern set up so that the light that comes in through the window will allow you to read, right? and
So cool. Yeah.
and and piled next to it is like a table, so you can like have multiple books. You know, this is the height of reading technology here, and this is like, you know, having multiple tabs open, and but piled on that table right now are like a few letters and a and like a box about like, you know, yeah, just like a finely wrapped box, not finely, but like, yeah, just a box.
Yeah. I
Um,
sort of set my things down, but hastily. I want to see what these parcels and these letters are.
yeah,
I can't read what the letters say, but I can kind of finger the writing on them. I can trace the writing with my finger, and I can
yeah,
sort of get a sense of how nice they are. Like
yeah, yeah,
are
yeah,
they plain ink or are they sealed? And
yeah. So the letter you get is in Elvish,
mm,
um, or is in like a it's in handwriting that you know to be Elvish. I think like the type of scroll that's used, the type of paper, like you know that
mhm.
this is an, you know, a message from an elf. And then I think the the box is wrapped in like uh a bunch of material that like when you undo it, you realize that like it's wrapped in a blanket, so like it could be like a good travel blanket.
Hmm.
And the box itself is made of like a bunch of wheels kind of cleverly locked together, um and
Oh
like you
wow!
know right
And
away
like
that
a puzzle box, like it's like a trick to open, or
no, it's not a trick to open, but like you know right away that like, oh, my dad made this. Like my
yeah.
dad made this box. It's like wheels with like uh you know uh corner joints so that it squares, and then like, you know, put together as a box. He like basically made a box like a wheelwright would make it, right? And
I know how to make a cube. You take
yeah,
six wheels and
yeah,
you match them at vertices,
totally.
and
Totally. And I think inside is a note, and I don't think you recognize the handwriting, and is a note and a pair of dwarven boots.
oh, it's so good. Um, yeah, how embarrassing is this? This is great because there's these letters and they're personal and they're written to Nara, but she's gonna have to find someone to read them to her, or she's gonna have to try and make them out. Um,
Or do you want to try your first reading test?
I think so. I think for this like very personal thing, like she was all about like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna read this book, but that wasn't written to her. These are letters.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think I want to start with the one I think is from my dad. Um, yeah,
yeah,
I'm torn. It's not like it's an easy choice. It's like, is that Egg Dolan, the fell nightingale? Did she send me something, or
yeah.
some other elf that she knows, or is this? But I think her heartstrings kind of pull at her dad. She sort of again traces the outlines of the wheels, and um, she smiles, and I mean it's maybe one of the first times she smiled in a while. Like Nara doesn't smile a ton, not nearly as much as her mom did,
Yeah.
and it's really.
What does
Uh,
Nara look like? Like, what does her hair look like?
She's got black, sort of wavy hair. It's shoulder length and it's shoulder length and often sort of pulled back because it's in her cloak, so it gets mussed often. She's got kind of sharp features. Sort of, she takes more after her dad than her mom in that regard. Her mom is sort of. I think she has Venus eyes, but she like has her dad's like cheekbones and nose. It's a little bumpy and a little
and a little long, but um, more severe than her mom's.
Cool.
She's 5'6". She's not a noticeable height really. Maybe a little short. She's maybe still going to grow an inch or so possibly.
Love it.
And yeah. Yeah, so she sort of looks and like holds the box up into the light so she can like make out the details of it better. Like as she sort looks like for some of her dad's. I think everybody who like really is into any craft has some sort of signature things
Yeah.
where you can sort of tell their work.
Oh, totally.
Like I bet my dad has just certain ways of putting in the spokes or building the rims or whatnot that she smiles when she recognizes those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she's gonna try and sound out and like make out the letters and see if she can.
Cool.
Do it.
Naturally, it is in the reading test obstacles. So a sign is ob 1 and a letter is ob 2. So we're doubling it to ob 4.
Ob 4.
And you could also use magic to help if you wanted.
Oh, that's a really good point. I'm in this place of magic.
Yeah.
I have a super cool idea. Okay, this is my idea.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, so whenever you're doing like word replacement thing, whenever you're like you have like cryptography and it's like a simple letter replacement thing, you're looking for patterns. You're like, well, that looks like it could be the. So that means that maybe F is a T and I is an H.
Yeah.
And like that's the pattern for the letter replacements. You're looking for like small words that are common that will help you kind of like unlock more. Now, Nara doesn't have any language to work off of, but what she does have is this big old book of Igna's tome and like maybe some other books in there. So what she's gonna do is like open up a couple books, and what I want to do is summon these like images, like so that the letters sort of like float up into the air, and she's gonna try and like match them and build patterns out of them, and see if she can sort of build herself a dictionary, a lexicon. That would kind of give some meaning to the letters to try and suss out patterns. Because although she doesn't know how to read, I don't think she's unfamiliar with the written word.
Right.
She doesn't know how to parse it, but she's seen people read and she's seen books, and she's not wholly unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think.
Love it.
Well, does that sound cool? Does that make sense?
That sounds awesome.
So I think we're going to call this Pattern of the Written Weave as a spell. Of course I'm going to name it because naming spells is the best. And I'd like to get 1 advantage dice. This is going to be up 2. I'd like to get 2 advantage dice. This is going to be up 3.
Cool.
Do I have anything that makes sense to fork into
the spell?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. And I think you get a bonus die because magic is just woven into the fabric of this place.
Oh, nice. Just aids sorcery. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to take 2 dice, 1 for naming it, 1 for the magic of the place. I'm going to go ob 3. Did not make it, but again, I've got more fate to spend. So I'm going to see because I'm only 1 away. Oh my God, fate keeps pulling me through.
Holy shit.
Oh my Lord.
Love it.
Oh my goodness, I just keep barely.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Barely squeezing it out. Let me work that fate.
So the letter is very clearly narrated from your mother, who I don't think was a great writer, if at all.
Yeah. I should still make the read test. That was the sorcery test.
Okay.
Right? Or do you want to describe
Oh yeah,
it?
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. This wasn't the read test.
This was
Shit.
to try and suss it out, right?
Yeah, so you get 2 extra dice in the attempt for a read test. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And my thought is like, it's not like their handwriting is going to be the same. So there's a lot of like pulling up shapes and trying to pattern match them and like trying to do my best of like, that looks like it's an A, that looks like it's an A, that word I'm pretty sure is, my mother's name. Because there's certain things like that might be familiar.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's try this read. And I've got 2 helping dice from the spell. And no Artha. And there's 2 and it will double that.
There's 4.
Yeah, I fail.
3 successes. That's so heartbreaking.
So close.
So here's what I think happens. Tell me if you think I should have mentioned the failure before we did anything, as always, and I always forget.
No worries.
I think you read the letters, but it like takes you into the middle of the night to do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
I think like you miss Rasmus welcoming you and telling you like what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. You miss dinner. You just like dismiss Matthias, like just like I'm doing something, and like Bezor is like so kind of psyched that you're excited about something that he just doesn't like. Maybe he like comes to the door once and like you remember him peeking in and you see him like, you're literally like sitting there and like words are literally floating around you in like illusory, cool bits. And
sorry, go on. There's a movie that just came out that I'm now forgetting the name. Jingle Jangle, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they sort of like this illusory script appears in the air, and that's very much what I had in mind as well.
Cool. And
I think like my like going out and singing my song at the tavern thing. Like I think it's like wee hours of the night.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 a.m. when you're done.
Yeah.
And you've missed a bunch of stuff. And hanging from a rafter in your room, like you don't remember Fennec flying in, but like Fennec clearly like is here and is sleeping, hanging upside down from the ceiling, from a rafter up there, a support beam. And I think you do translate them. I just think it takes you all night and you miss a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So you get the 2 letters. The first one is from your mother, and it was clearly translated to a priest. And you probably know the family priest. And so she says, I have not heard from you in some years, and I hope you are well. They tell me that an archmage will be chosen before too long. And I thought, and I found out that you will likely be going to Wheelholt, and you will probably have many journeys beyond there. And I thought this gift might help your journeys as much as they helped mine. Your father made you this box and wanted me to remind you to not forget to eat. And I think I think we've like stumbled into a thing that Nara does, right? I think because in the first game you did the same thing. You like ran out and stealthed, and then you came back and like scarfed 5 spoonfuls of the stew and then ran away again. So like, I think she's doing that kind of college freshman overstimulated like running around, right? And don't forget to eat, at which point you realize that you haven't eaten.
Yeah. Right.
And
I think there's like
that,
some cold food maybe sitting outside her door that was like brought there earlier that she just
yeah,
ignored.
yeah. And, you
Food,
know,
boring world, interesting. Yes, Andy, you're 100% right.
and we love you very much and miss you and hope that your journeys are wondrous. You know, love, you know, B. Love your mother. And the second letter is, and like, and then there are the dwarven boots that she got as a gift. And then, and I think they're just awesome boots. I think they look the exact same as the day Bina got them.
Yeah.
And they weren't made exactly for your feet, but I think your feet are very similar to your mom's, and they're still amazingly comfortable if you put them on, and just sturdy as fuck. And it's a good gift. I think it's a cool gift. And the next letter is from the Fell Nightingale, who was one of your teachers. And she says, you know, dear Nara, I stopped by the place where I left you to learn how to become whatever you were going to become, and I found out that you left under duress. And thinking back on our time together, I feel like I owe you an apology and wish I had taught you more and taught you better. I am used to having decades to teach, and teaching humans is something I've never done before. And as your teacher and as your mentor, I feel like I let you down. I have heard that the burning wheel, that the Lord of Fire will be choosing a new archmage once again, and I know that your destiny is tangled in this tapestry. And so I have sent my apology there in hopes that it reaches you. I will be wandering, and it is my hope that in the next few years, my wanderings will take me to Shadowhold, to see to see the choosing, or some part of it. I hope that our paths cross there, and if not there, then somewhere else. Best of luck to you, and I hope that you ended up in a place that is deserving of a student as voracious as you. Sincerely, the Fell Nightingale.
Nice. I think after Nara finishes the first letter from her mom, she's crying.
Yeah.
She's crying because she misses her mom. She's crying and her dad. She's also crying because she feels this, like, as much as her mom is not pressuring her and saying you need to go be the archmage or whatnot, she definitely feels like everybody else, and including her up until very recently, felt like being the archmage was like a switch you flipped on. It was like, cool, I'm the archmage now. That's just somebody said I was going to do it, and I learned magic. Cool, I know magic now. I can be the archmage. And then she's like, oh, we have to do these 3 chores, you know, circulation and sorcery and symbology and reading and all these things, and she just feels so woefully unprepared. And it's that thing of like, it's super imposter syndrome. It's that thing of like, she's going to college, and everybody from her family who's never gone to college is like, you're going to be great, you're going to do it. And she's like, you don't have any idea, you don't know what you're talking about. I can't be great because I'm not prepared, because I don't know all these other things. And everyone's like, no, it's fine, you're smart, you can figure things out. And she's like, me being able to figure things out or being precocious or being like voracious is not enough to make up for these huge gaps in my knowledge. And she just doesn't feel like her mom or really anybody from her past, like understands the distance between her and what she needs to do and what she needs to become. And like it's overwhelming. Like she misses them, but she also just feels like nobody gets it. Maybe even Bezor. She doesn't know whether he is like understands and is holding out because he wants her to learn it on his own, or even he doesn't understand. Like she's
Yeah.
just anyway. So that's emotional. That's hard. Um, and she puts on the boots and they feel really warm and it's comforting and it feels like home, because I'm sure she wore her mom's boots a couple times, just like in that way kids wear their parents' shoes and like clomp around in them. Like, she's tried these on before, but that was when her feet were far too small, and now they're fitting or close to fitting. And there's also this thing of like walking in her mom's shoes. Like Bina literally stopped the war.
Literally.
And it's just like, oh my god, it's so much. It's just a lot of overwhelming emotions.
Yeah.
So there's some crying, and it's not like cute, quiet, like a tear. There's like, if anyone's listening at the door, they hear sobbing. Like it's not subtle. It's also 3 a.m, so maybe people are asleep. But Fennec, anyone who's around hears it.
Yeah.
And then, and then she reads the letter from the Fell Nightingale and immediately thinks to look at the stars. Like she goes to the window and like looks outside and gets like the cold air on her, like cold air to clear her eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like looking at the stars, and she knows astrology, and she feels like, maybe I could find out where the nightingale is, because I know
Oh,
I
nice.
by the stars too.
Yeah.
And like,
I love that.
Like I feel like I could actually connect with her. So late as it is, this is the time to do it. Like the middle of the night when it's quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think she's gonna, like, just to have the sense of like I can put some pieces together. I can figure things out. I think she's gonna try and find her by the stars. Does that sound?
Love it. That sounds cool? Awesome. I think it's obstacle 1. I think it's just really awesome. I think if you fail, I think you're going to see in the stars that she's in some real trouble. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I'd like to fork in aura reading, because I think I know her. I think finding an elf's aura among the people, once she I think she's gonna follow the stars, but I think she's also going to be looking before she goes no place, and sort of looking at people's auras and not intently, but enough that she can make out an elf. So she could still run into an elf that is the Fell Nightingale, which could be really bad. But thankfully, that really, really bad elf is not among us anymore. That's something she knows. Some other great warrior stopped the bad elf, which in her mind is still how she remembers Fiona's Seal. The bad elf. Anywho, let's make that astrology test. 1 forking die. Yes! Oh my goodness, crushed it.
Wow. Great.
Successes.
Yeah, I think you look to the stars and see the way that the constellations, the Nightingale and the Fell Arrow are lined up, that she's here. And like, I think it's just a matter of, do you want to go out into the city and find her somewhere?
I think when she realizes that she's here and she like sees the sign, it's this incredible like I think she did have to go out in the city at least a little bit to kind of like get her bearing and walk around, but I don't think she's delved maybe she hasn't delved far from Rasmus's dwelling.
Right.
Um,
I'm not
but
going
I
to make a
think
roll to like find her. I'm just like wondering, do you want to go out and find her right now? Do you want to find her later? Because I think there was an elvish grove, not like around the outside of Shadowhold,
yeah,
and so I think like you know where she is. She's clearly there.
nice. Yeah. I think this takes some time. I don't think this is like instant. I think she's
Yeah.
falling starch a little bit. And when she finally realizes it, I think that's when like the incredible fatigue hits in. Like she
Yeah.
went right from this spell to all this studying, and then this like reading like made her think like, oh, someone I care about is here. And then as soon as she found her, she's just like, oh, that's a long trek. It's not really that long a trek, but it feels at 4 a.m. It feels like anything feels
Yeah.
like a long trek. And
Yeah.
so I think she's gonna take a break, and maybe it's a good time for us to take a 5 as well. And she's gonna go crash in her quarters.
Love it.
Awesome. That was very fun. I was like, of course she would find the Fell Nightingale by the stars. That seems it's so perfect for.
That's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, friends, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah. See you in a few, folks.